All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I am Carrie Miller, one of the Youth Apprenticeship Coordinators supporting the CESA 6 region. In the past, I've worked with Washington County, but mainly in Manitowoc County for the past 15 years. I am pleased to introduce a couple folks that are with me this evening. So first, Jessie Gitter from the Department of Workforce Development. She is going to talk a little bit more on that registered apprenticeship side. We also have Ryan Herber with us tonight. Ryan is the regional, so in the Manitowoc County area. And then we also have Lynn Oshasky with us. She is the regional rep in the Fox Cities area. So if there are any questions as we go throughout our presentation, please go ahead, and there should be an opportunity for you to put questions in for question and answer. And we are going to answer those as best we can, either live or as those questions come in. So again, feel free to go into the Q&A and ask those questions so we can make sure your questions are answered. This is also recorded, so it will be sent out, the recording afterwards as well. All right. We also will have two former youth apprentices who transitioned into a registered apprenticeship share with us tonight at some point. So we will make sure they're able to share with you a little bit about their story and how they got to be where they are. All right. So next, so first, congratulations on getting to the point of doing your youth apprenticeship and then looking at what's next. When you entered into the program, you may have not been fully aware of the next steps or really the golden opportunity that potentially awaits for you after you complete the program. So tonight you're going to hear about 10 different areas that offer registered apprenticeship programs. Registered apprenticeship has been a part of Wisconsin history and workforce development since, I am going to guess, early 90s. I could be absolutely wrong on that. So but youth apprenticeship students are in a really unique and exciting position to enter this program ahead of their peers, meaning because they did the youth apprenticeship program, they have an opportunity to transition, or what we refer to as bridge, into the registered apprenticeship program, again, ahead of their peers graduating and kind of starting after graduation. Not only does it mirror what you are currently or have been doing through the youth apprenticeship program, but it also provides you with a strategic leg up in the marketplace moving forward. Tonight, you're going to learn how you can leverage the time you have invested into the youth apprenticeship program to help further advance your skills, education, and pay beyond high school. In just a minute, I'm going to hand the program over to Jessica, and she is going to walk you through more details related to the registered apprenticeship program. She'll be able to share with you the program benefits, answer questions that anybody has related to the steps to the transition, right from your current YA program into the state registered apprenticeship program. One piece of advice I have for the students is make sure you are having conversations, obviously not only with your employer, but also with your youth apprenticeship coordinator. It's really important to us that we recognize those students who are transitioning to make sure we can get them all set up. All right, so we are going to jump into, oops, I'm sorry. So next, again, you are already connected to these employers, you've worked with them. That gives you a huge jump start because you have shown them you show up every day, you're committed to work, you've made a determination, hey, I want to start in this program, in the registered apprenticeship, and continue on in this career-wise. Less waiting time to be offered in a registered apprenticeship position. So they'll talk a little bit about the committees and the process, but you have that time in. Essentially, you have a pre-apprenticeship program already completed. So you would not have to wait as long as somebody who would graduate high school and want to get an apprenticeship without the youth apprenticeship. And the great thing is, depending on your coursework and where you've taken that, the coursework and the youth apprenticeship hours may transfer over. So if you are a student in a machining program and you've worked 1,100 hours, it is up to your employer to decide how those transition, but they may all transition over into that registered apprenticeship. That saves everybody time, which is really exciting. And one of the other great benefits of doing that transition or the bridge from YA to RA is you can advance quicker in the role, but also the wages in which you make. So we're going to jump ahead. So Jessie, I'm actually going to have you go for it here. So, all right, welcome, Jessica.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, so my name is Jessie Gitter. I'm an apprenticeship navigator with Wisconsin Apprenticeship. And so my role is to educate both students and adults about registered apprenticeship, what sort of skilled occupations have registered apprenticeships, and the steps someone would need to take in order to become an apprentice. So if I could have the next slide, please. So here's some information about what a registered apprenticeship, the breakdown is. So 90% learning is on the job. I'll get into a bit more detail on the next slide about that. But 10% is what we call related instruction, or that's classroom training. Oftentimes that's done through the Wisconsin Technical College system, but sometimes it could be done through a private training provider. There is a contractual agreement. So with that, the apprentice contract, the sponsor signs it, the apprentice signs it, and the state of Wisconsin signs it. So it is monitored by the state of Wisconsin Apprenticeship. And Ryan and Lynn, feel free, they're my coworkers. They're the apprenticeship training representatives. They work with the sponsors and the apprentices. So they're also very knowledgeable about Wisconsin Apprenticeship. So they'll be filling in where needed as well. Next slide, please. So the breakdown of registered apprenticeship. So as I mentioned, the majority of the learning is done on the job. That's 90% of the learning. So apprenticeship is a great option for individuals who may not enjoy sitting in the classroom all the time, since the majority of the learning is done on the job. So that's where you're working with that skilled worker, and that person is passing on their knowledge and expertise of that occupation onto the apprentice. And then that 10% is related instruction. And as I mentioned, that's primarily through the tech colleges. One of the great benefits about doing a registered apprenticeship is that the employer pays the hourly wage for the apprentice to be in the classroom. So you're actually getting paid to learn in the classroom as well. So one of the benefits of doing a registered apprenticeship. Now the apprentice does pay for like tuition, books, and fees. That is an out-of-pocket expense that the apprentice will have. However, sometimes the sponsor will pay for that. So it just depends on how the sponsor has that set up, but typically the apprentice is responsible. All right, next slide, please. So talking about that apprentice contract. So the employer agrees to administer the program. They're going to be paying the apprentice that hourly rate for the on-the-job learning and the related instruction. There are state and federal regulations that guide the apprenticeship. And again, there's that three-way contract that I mentioned earlier. Now, registered apprenticeships, the shortest apprenticeship would be a year, and the longest is 5. I believe we have one that's about 6, but the average apprenticeship is about 4 years. So the minimum hours for the on-the-job learning varies, but the related instruction, it has to be a minimum of 144 hours of that classroom learning. Next slide, please. So what are the benefits of doing a registered apprenticeship? So you have that hands-on career training. You're not sitting in a classroom for hours a day. You're getting, real-world experience from a skilled worker. You get that portable credentialing. So once you complete a registered apprenticeship, you receive a journey worker card. And Wisconsin is highly recognized throughout the country. Wisconsin registered apprenticeship has been around since 1911 in Wisconsin. So if you think maybe you would want to move out of state at some point in the future and you're a journey worker, you can, let employers know that you received your training in Wisconsin, and they're going to know that you received quality training by doing an apprenticeship here. Competitive wages, apprentices are paid good money, and there's guaranteed raises throughout the apprenticeship. So typically when you complete so many hours, you get a raise. And so, most of us, when we have a job, we typically, are happy to get one raise a year, but within an apprenticeship, you could potentially be looking at a couple of raises per year. There's that educational piece. So if you're taking courses through the technical college, you're getting credits for those courses you're taking. So if you wanted to, you could continue your education. You could take some additional classes in your free time and work towards getting maybe a technical diploma or an associate's degree. Registered apprenticeship is a career. It's not just a job. If you're, thinking maybe you're interested in like construction or manufacturing, someone who completes an apprenticeship could be looking at making $65,000 to $75,000 per year. So you could be looking at making very good money where, some of your friends who maybe went to a 4-year university, they could be looking at, finishing with a lot of student debt, whereas someone who goes through a registered apprenticeship could have no student debt and be making really good money and, looking at buying a house, vehicles, taking trips. So another great benefit of doing a registered apprenticeship. All right, next slide, please. So this is, I think, one of my favorite slides. So this chart here illustrates a 4-year time frame. So the arrow on the left, someone who attends like a 4-year university would spend an average of $42,000 in that 4-year time frame on tuition and fees. Whereas the arrow on the right an apprentice in the same 4-year time frame would be looking at earning $161,000, and that's on average. And so that doesn't include the benefits, because apprentices are offered any benefits that any other full-time employee in the same position would receive. So you're also receiving benefits on top of, you know, the money, that the $161,000 that's demonstrated here on this chart. So, you know, it's a pretty good program, you know, especially for those who don't think that sitting in a classroom pursuing a 4-year university degree would be a good option. Next slide, please. So you may be wondering, what sort of registered apprenticeship skilled occupations are there? So these are the 10 employment sectors, and our kind of traditional core 4 are construction, industrial, utility, and service. But then we have the 6 innovative sectors: the agriculture, biotech, financial services, healthcare, IT, that's a really popular one, and transportation. And so I'm going to be showing you our website where you can actually see what sort of skilled occupations are for each of these different sectors. And they are in various, the emerging 6 are in various stages of development. So you'll actually be able to see what sort of occupations there are. And then you can, on your own time, explore the website to see what sort of, how long the training program is, what the requirements are, things like that. Next slide. So Ryan and Lynn, I'm just wondering if either of you have any information that you would like to provide before I head over to the website.
I think you're doing a fine job.
Yeah, no, great job. I think just for students to understand it is exactly what Jesse hit on. It's another career pathway. It's great for those students who, you know, maybe don't want to sit in a class for 4 days a week, but still want to start earning some credits and start earning that monetary value at the same time. So different pathway can lead to a lot of programs going forward, like associate's degrees, bachelor's degree, if that's something they determine to do, you know, down the road.
So we do have a couple questions coming in, so I just want to address those as they come in.
Sure.
The first question is, if students are planning on attending an out-of-state school, is this program still apply? So is registered apprenticeship just Wisconsin? Is it everywhere?
So registered apprenticeship is handled on the state level. So if you are attending school in another area, chances are you would work with that state's apprenticeship program. As Jesse said, our program started, I'm sorry, I'll turn on my camera so you can see me. Wisconsin was the first state in the union that started apprenticeship, and many people don't know that, but that's why our technical college system was developed, to help provide the curriculum support to the apprenticeship program. But it is handled on an individualized state-to-state basis. We do work a little bit with border communities, like right across the border to the UP, or down with the Illinois border, and some on the Minnesota border. But usually the rule is, if they are attending, or if they are registered in the state of Wisconsin, that they're usually attending a tech school or training facility in the state of Wisconsin.
So this is wisconsinapprenticeship.org. So if you were to put that in the search, this is what would come up. So we're going to focus on the registered apprenticeship side for applicants. So there's some benefits here about being a registered apprentice, but we're going to focus on here the different occupations. So here's where you can see those 10 employment sectors. And so here's where you can get in to see what sort of skilled occupations are available. So I'm just going to pick construction. And then here you can see the various skilled occupations in construction. So then I'm just going to go ahead and pick one, electrician. I think electrician is probably the most popular one with the individuals that I speak with. So here there's a short summary about that particular occupation. And then here's information about that breakdown of hours. So the 90% learning on the job and the 10% related instruction. Now this is paid related instruction. When we're talking about construction, there's oftentimes usually some additional unpaid related instruction, and that might be like a night class that the apprentice has to take that they're not paid their hourly wage for, but the majority of the related instruction they are paid for. Here's a link to ONET. So this is where you can get really great detailed information about an occupation if you're looking to do some career exploration. ONET is a great resource where you can learn about like what sort of skills, abilities, knowledge is required for a particular occupation. And then we have some labor market information. Now, if you were to connect one-on-one with myself or one of the other navigators, we could go into Wisconomy and get some updated information, and even get information that's relevant to your part of Wisconsin, because sometimes it can look different according to which part of the state that you're in. And then to talk about briefly about how you go about becoming an apprentice. If you're interested in construction, you would need to reach out to one or any of the apprenticeship committees. And so there's the union side, there's the non-union side, and then you'd be looking at which committee you're interested in. So let's see, I will pick the Appleton Oshkosh Area Electrical Joint Apprenticeship Committee. So there's usually a link to their website. There's information about what the minimum qualifications are, and then there's information about what the selection procedure is. And so as navigators, we do a lot of one-on-one conversations with individuals to talk more about that and talk about the difference in the selection procedures, because it can be a rank list or it can be a letter of introduction. And then I'm just going to go over, I'm going to switch over to industrial, because when you're looking at construction, it's always applying to an apprenticeship committee. That's going to be your first point of contact. Whereas if you're looking at any sort of occupation outside of construction, it's looking for what's called a sole sponsor. So I'm going to click on industrial electrician. So you're going to see the same setup. And here you can see the additional training, a lot less training compared to that construction electrician. But here we have a list of featured sponsors. And these are sponsors or employers who want to advertise to the public that they train apprentices. So if we're to click on one, we can see what counties they're located in, and then there's their contact information, because then you can reach out to that company to see if they're actively looking for apprentices, and if so, inquire into their application process. And I will back out and touch on one other spot back on the homepage, wisconsinapprenticeship.org. Here we have our list of all of the featured sponsors. And so here you can sort by county, and you can also sort by skilled occupation. So this is the list of all of our featured sponsors. And these aren't the only sponsors that we have for registered apprenticeship, but these are the ones who wanted it to be known that they train apprentices. So this is a great resource to be able to find sponsors, and then you can reach out to them. And we do also have more and more employers or sponsors posting on Job Center of Wisconsin when they have openings. And so that's another place individuals can go to look for any apprenticeship openings. So that's just a quick 101 to our website. But like I said, if you were to reach out to one of the navigators, we would go more in depth about any occupations that you're interested in and talk about that process of how to become an apprentice. Oh, you're muted, Carrie.
I am sorry, I thought I hit that. So another question coming in, I'm interested in being an elevator mechanic. Are there any programs in regard to that at all?
I will defer to Lynn and Ryan on that one.
I did just respond to that in the question and answer, but I am unaware of any elevator program in the state of Wisconsin at this time. Normally programs like that, because they are highly specialized to very specific companies, those, if they exist, are developed by the employer, or the employer reaches out to us saying, I need an employee with this specific skill set. Can you help me develop a training program? So then we work closely with the employer. We put together curriculum based on the needs that they have for those employees. And then they help us develop the on-the-job training portion of it, and we create a contract. I'm the most senior member here. I am not familiar with any elevator programming at all in the state of Wisconsin. That's not to say it hasn't existed in the past, but none that are currently using it that I'm aware.
Okay, great. So again, we do have the question and answer box. So go ahead and put your questions in as they come. Right now, we are going to transition back and have our two guests this evening speak. So I will go back to sharing my screen here. All right, so Hayden Lodell, if you want to unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are, where you went to high school, talk about your youth apprenticeship, and now what you're doing for registered apprenticeship. And thanks for joining us. I know Hayden just got done with work, so he's a busy guy, so I'm really happy he could join us as well. So Hayden?
Yeah, a lot of people need their furnaces fixed right now, believe it or not. But yeah, so I graduated Manitowoc Lincoln 2018. I started my senior year in June-ish. I started working for Manitowoc Heating, doing HVAC. Kind of just looked at it as a way of discovering the trades and maybe seeing if that would be something that I would like to do versus college. Had a lot of my credits done and stuff like that. A lot of it was just a lot of on-the-job training and stuff like that. You learn a lot of valuable life skills, I would think, versus sitting in a classroom, but then a little biased, I suppose. So from there, I got, I guess, all the hours that you put in while you're in the regular apprenticeship program or the youth apprenticeship program. They now offer a program, the registered apprenticeship program, and you can transfer your hours. So what I ended up doing is I ended up getting a contract for a registered apprenticeship through Manitowoc Heating. So now I end up going to NWTC, where I now go to school once every 2 weeks. Starts at 7:30, goes till about 3:30, and that's every other week on a Friday. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the employer pays for that for every single company. So right now I'm in my 4th year of my apprenticeship, and I am due to graduate a little bit earlier. So it's 4 years of school, but it usually ends up being about 5 years worth of hours. But with my youth apprenticeship and how it transferred, I can graduate right at the end of my 4th year, assuming that I get all my unpaid related instruction done as well. With that being said, I definitely think it's a great thing that they transfer it over. Definitely helps you guys out a lot if you guys decide that the trades are something that you want to do, or at least it gets your foot in the door to see what else is out there. Because in my experience working on a job site, I deal with plumbers, electricians, a lot of different trades in an area, and you can actually see them. It's like job shadowing every single day. I think that's about it. Registered apprenticeship, it's a lot more hands-on. When you go to school, it's not sitting there doing math equations. If it is, it's pertaining more to your job. So for example, we'll go into a house and we'll see how much cubic feet of air is needed to move to heat the house efficiently. And then from there, sizing gas pipe and stuff like that. So that's something that I would deal with in classwork. But you start to gain a little bit of skills at being a youth apprenticeship. You at least can handle the terminology and stuff like that when people are teaching you or explaining to you what's going on, and then transferring to the actual registered apprenticeship. They explain a lot more in depth of what you're learning and what you're seeing actually on the job site itself. I think that's about all I got.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Hayden. I really appreciate you coming here and sharing your story and just the advantages of that YA to RA and what you're doing in that registered apprenticeship. So we'll let you get back to your evening. So thank you so much again, Hayden.
Yep, thanks.
All right, next we have Vincent Gross. So Vincent was actually one of 2 students in the state of Wisconsin that piloted the heavy equipment operation program as a senior in high school. So I will have Vince join us and tell us a little bit about, his route to get to where he is today.
Hi, Carrie. Thanks for having me. So I started out probably my freshman year of high school, kind of already knowing what I wanted to do for what I kind of wanted to do as a career, due to a couple of my neighbors being heavy equipment operators and one of my close relatives actually being a retired operator. So my sophomore year of high school, a teacher came up to me and had said, "Hey, do you know I know that you want to become an operator, all this and that through down the road in life. They're having a kind of like this tonight, an informational session at Coloma, which is where their training center is, which is also, it is 400 acres of just pure land that the operators get to run all different types of equipment, such as dozers, excavators, scrapers. You get to build and take down cranes. You get to learn all about that stuff. They even have a indoor facility where you can run equipment during the winter months, which is when most of the training goes on, in case if there's too much frost in the ground or something to work up. But I took advantage of that informational session, and I went, and they started out with these quick passes, these fast passes, probably about a year or two before my sophomore year, so probably 8th grade or my freshman year of high school. And it allowed me to take a couple classes to prepare me for when I would actually get on the job. I mean, it wasn't like a whole bunch of math or science or anything like that. It was just straight. There was math involved, but it was straight stuff that had to do with the job, how you're going to succeed in the job, looking around different parts of equipment, what to expect, where all the grease fittings are on the equipment, how to rebuild the engine, all the different types of coolant types and whatnot that all go through these engines, and all all the new emissions that run through them. So that was a big thing. So I took 2 classes my junior year of that, and I took 1 my senior year, which helped me fire up and get ready for the job when I started. I started in end of April, my senior year of high school, and was able to get out of school for, I believe, 6 hours out of the day. I was only at school for 2 hours and 20 minutes or so. So if it's something that you really want to put forth to doing, you know, I would take advantage of this YA, because me now looking back at it, it helped me. Not only did it help me with the basic knowledge of, you know, being able to take these online classes and whatnot, of preparing me for the career that I want to take, but now I actually did get put into the Operators Apprenticeship program just only 1 year after, because I was able to show the company that this is what I want to do as a career. I've been, you know, planning this out for the last probably 4 years of my life now. So they went ahead right away and put me in. So now I get to start that off. It's a great thing to get into. I mean, there's going to be hours to work, but there's a lot of benefits that come with it. I cannot really stress that enough, that the benefits are unbelievable, and I really can't complain about it too much. Depending on what company or where you go to work, you might get laid off in winter time. So if you really enjoy ice fishing or something, or you got a winter hobby that you like to do, you will get the whole winter off roughly, because I'll probably have off till about April now. But other than that, it's just a really good thing to get into, and I hope that you all take advantage of it.
Great. Thank you very much. So maybe can you just share a little bit, you know, you talked about getting into the registered apprenticeship earlier. So on average, from what you know, when somebody starts working at Vinton, how long does it take them to get into that registered apprenticeship versus your path?
So if you didn't take the path that I took, it would probably take you on average about 5 years to get into the operators, just because Vinton likes to hire within the company. Not that you come straight out of high school and they say, okay, yeah, we're going to go throw you in this $500,000 piece of equipment when we have no idea who you are. You know, they want to start you out on the ground, which after working this whole entire season, I would say that is the benefit. And I still will be working on the ground. It's not all I got put in the operators, now I get to run equipment. I'll still be on the ground, but the more you learn on the ground, the better it is for you. So I did get some, when I went in and had a meeting with actually my 2 top bosses of the company, they had said that my foreman did actually call him up and said, hey, this is probably a kid that you're going to want to be looking into for putting into the operators, due to this is what he wants to do. He's stressed it out enough. He shows his work ethic. We start at 6:30 every morning. He's there by 6 o'clock, or we start at 6. He's there by 5:30. I mean, it's just the little things. If you're my second day in the field, my foreman said he wasn't directed towards me at all, because I was told to be there at 6:30, and I showed up at about 6:15 my second day, and I overheard my foreman talking. He said, if you're a half hour late, or if you're a half hour early, you're late. So from there on out, you just show up a half hour early. You don't have to. It's not necessarily that you're working, but as long as your car is there, it still shows that you're willing to put forth the effort and not be a lazier type of person that's just coming, because that's kind of what some people may view us younger generation coming out and going into that work field. But if you're able to put forth the effort and show them that you're really, wanting to work, they will move you up in the company.
Great. Thank you, Vincent.
Yep.
Again, very proud of what you've done, and thank you for sharing with us tonight and joining us. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. And I do see another question coming in that I'm going to refer to the RA team. But it says, do I have to wait till after high school graduation to send my registered apprenticeship application? Also, how can I obtain a general aptitude test for that part? And are there any available scholarships within the registered apprenticeship program? So we have kind of 3 questions in one there. So maybe if you just want to talk about the process that somebody goes through when they want to apply to that committee.
So sometimes there are scholarships available. We work with the WIOA, which is Wisconsin Innovation Opportunity Act.
Got it.
So they do have some monies available for training opportunity if you qualify for that. Sometimes there's local monies available through local not-for-profit types of agencies, and we can. Jesse, do you guys work with those types of situations at all? Funding sources?
No, we don't.
Okay, so a lot of the time those partners can be found in the local job centers. So that would be a good starting point as far as scholarships. But honestly, with apprenticeship, there's very little out of pocket You are paid your hourly rate while you're in school. So while your butt is in the seat, as we like to say, you are paid whatever your regular hourly rate is that you are paid while you're at work. So you're getting 40 hours a week normally of pay. And most industrial sponsors, so if you're working in a factory or the service sector, those types of things, most of those sponsors, I would say I would put it at about 90% of the sponsors that I work with in the Appleton area will pay for your tuition and books. Sometimes they do it as a tuition reimbursement situation where you have to get a certain grade, and then they'll reimburse you. But the tech schools are happy to work with you. You cannot use financial aid with apprenticeship because it is not full-time training, and that's usually a prerequisite to get loans and grants through FAFSA. But there really is very, very little out-of-pocket expense on behalf of the apprentice during training. And the general aptitude test battery, also, I would refer you to the tech schools. They used to offer them at job service. I do not know if they still do. You can always check with your local job center to find that out. But I believe that the tech schools in their testing and evaluation departments would have that test available for you.
Yeah, one other funding option too. There's also grants that are available on the statewide level that when you're starting out as an apprentice, there might be that cost for supplies, tools, work boots, those things that really start adding up when you're starting out a new position. So there's some grant funding options that are, and those are always coming out new too. So that's something, if you do get into a registered apprenticeship program, you'll get some information sent to you from Madison, or you'll be working with Jessica or our other navigators to kind of fill you in on some of those opportunities that sometimes people forget about, but there's additional funding out there.
So Ryan, let's talk a little bit about, I recognize some names tonight, and these are current youth apprentices already enrolled, whether it be construction trades or in a manufacturing setting. And I know that some of them have already been offered that opportunity to do a youth or a registered apprenticeship with their current employer. So can you just talk a little bit about that process of, when they're working at that employer, how does that process get started? What does it look like? And, how do things kind of come together with that?
Sure, and Lynn has worked, directly with a lot of the industries in the Lakeshore as well. So the way we've kind of worked with it in our region, if they're already working for that employer and they're going to stay with that employer from YA into RA, typically that HR manager or supervisor will contact myself directly. They're like, hey, we're ready to move on from that YA apprenticeship into the registered apprenticeship. We definitely work with CISA 6 to make sure everything's finalized on the school end. If they're going to be ending school early, like Vincent was, getting out early on those last couple months of your senior year, we all kind of coordinate together. And each case is kind of individual, so it's not a canned situation where this is exactly what we do in each situation. We kind of work with that sponsor, that industry HR rep directly, with the youth apprenticeship coordinator, with the youth apprenticeship themselves, kind of look at what hours that sponsor might accept from that youth apprenticeship to transfer over, what credits. We'll work closely with the tech school to see if any of those coursework that they completed at that youth apprenticeship will transfer over into whatever program they're going into. So it's kind of multifaceted, but it can definitely give that youth apprentice a leg up. And we're working with a few right now that they've got some hours transferred over, so they're almost 9 months ahead into their youth apprenticeship right off the bat. So, but it is definitely, Lynn, I think you would agree, an individual basis.
Absolutely. And someone had asked the question, do I need to be 18 or do I need to be graduate to apply? You do not. I don't know if I answered that privately or if that went to everybody so they could see it, but you do not need to be 18. Actually, Carrie and I had the privilege of signing on the first, was he 16, Carrie?
Yes, he was 16 years old, and he was the first youth apprentice in the state of Wisconsin during his senior year. He had just turned 17, but was a younger senior in high school. And he was the first one in the state of Wisconsin to sign up for registered apprenticeship and start during his senior year of high school. So that is another opportunity that I will mention, is that a lot of times students in youth apprenticeship can start and do either a 1 or 2 year program. So my advice to students is, do the 2-year program. So in the case, we have had a couple students where they have definitely committed to that area that they're doing their youth apprenticeship in as a career for them. So in their senior year, they have been offered the opportunity to jump into a registered apprenticeship program. So we've worked with the schools, we work with our local training rep, whether it be Lynn or Ryan, and make that happen. So we had a student that Ryan and I are working with. He was offered the opportunity to start his registered apprenticeship in January this year. Ultimately, he decided to wait until August so that he could finish out his senior year and be a senior in high school. And I think that's great. So there's different things that'll fit different students as well. The other thing I would mention that we do as youth apprenticeship coordinators is really having those conversations with students and making sure that your youth apprenticeship coordinator knows you are interested in continuing in this as a career. And then we can start having those conversations with your employer at grading meetings and talking about here are the opportunities beyond, so that they know you're very interested. And again, we can answer those questions about the registered apprenticeship program, making that transition easier. One of the things I love about the program is that students who enter and do that YA to RA bridge, it is better than any high school scholarship you will ever get. Any sports scholarship or any academic scholarships. As we mentioned, about 90, I would say probably in Manitowoc, we're probably closer to about 100%, I would say, of employers that are really sponsoring registered apprenticeships, meaning you would pay, they would pay you not only for your hours in the course, they would pay you for your, or they'd pay for your instruction, and potentially even the books, and you would walk away without any debt. You would also, doing that YA to RA bridge program, you could be a year or 2 ahead in that registered apprenticeship with your hours. So huge advantage. One of the things that we strive to do is recognize those students, just as any student getting academic and athletic scholarships would. So prior to COVID, we did some registered apprenticeship signing days. So Hayden was actually at our very first one 4 years ago, where we had the companies and we made a big deal out of it. So we wanted our students to be recognized that they had this great opportunity and make sure they were getting recognized for the work that they did as well too.
And Carrie, didn't you have at Lincoln, didn't you have apprenticeship cords?
Correct. So our students also receive graduation cords. So when they are leaving high school, they will display those graduation cords and be proud of what they've done in that youth apprenticeship and what is next for them. So we recognize our students at their scholarship awards nights. And again, these are students who have just so many wonderful opportunities moving forward. So we want to make sure we recognize them as well.
And one thing I'd like to say, if you are doing a current YA and you maybe learned a lot and you'd love to stay there, but maybe your employer just isn't able to put you on as a full-time employee and send you up to the registered apprenticeship level, if you have completed a YA, that will help open doors for you with other employers that may be willing to do a registered apprenticeship for you. So don't hesitate to try to coordinate with your local YA person and your local registered apprenticeship person, because that registered apprenticeship contact, I can pretty much guarantee you can probably name off 5 employers off the top of their head who are currently hiring in those positions and would be happy to have a talk with you. So even if it doesn't work out at your current company, if you're a YA, for whatever reason, that does not mean that you couldn't reap those same benefits with another employer. It might take a little bit longer. Maybe they'd have you on more of a probationary period before they'd give you credit for what you've already completed because they don't know you. But I guarantee you, we could definitely find you a placement with whatever experience you have.
And can you guys talk just real briefly about, let's say I'm a student entering into a registered apprenticeship and my goal is not only to get that journey worker card at the end, but I also want to have an associate's degree. Can you talk about what that looks like and how I'm able to do that as well?
Absolutely. So as Jessie said when she started, most apprenticeship programs are about 4 years. Some are 5. The more highly technical skilled programs are about 5. Once you get your journey card from the state of Wisconsin in those programs, this won't work with a 1-year program, but with most programs that we offer, you will get, with that card, all you would have to do is do your general education requirements. So those are the classes that anybody who's getting an associate degree would need to have: communication, oral interpersonal communication, written communication, sociology, psychology. I believe there's 8 general education classes that need to be taken. And you can even take those while you're doing your apprenticeship. So you could take them as night school classes or online classes while you're doing your apprenticeship classes. And if you get all of those done with your journey card, you would have an associate degree in technical studies, which again, the way the educational system is now being structured, that associate degree can launch you into a bachelor's degree, can launch you into so many other areas. So we are definitely positioning ourselves to work within the technical college system to have those credits transfer into a four-year school. And one employer I talked with, I said, you really do a good job of using the apprenticeship program. He said, well, my problem is I get them to the journeyman level and they want to keep learning. So the job that I trained them for, they want to keep advancing. So I have to keep backfilling those jobs because they keep getting more advanced degrees or more advanced education and taking positions higher up in the company. So it really is a lifelong learning experience. And it's just, somebody was asking, about the UW system and things like that. Absolutely. Eventually you can get there. Apprenticeship really starts out as just a different method of getting you a credential. So it's not a bachelor's degree. It could be an associate degree, depending on the work you put into it. But really, it was initially designed for those who couldn't afford to take 4 more years or 2 more years and pay out of pocket and be out of the workforce or try to juggle a family life or those types of things. But we are recognizing the need that people do want to continue to learn, and we're working within the context of the entire educational system to get you to where you want to be eventually.
Yeah, I just want to hit on one point, kind of Lynn, you had touched on before. If there's a youth apprentice now that is maybe their employer isn't ready to take them on and they're kind of in that exploratory mode of what other companies might be out there, that's where Lynn and myself can work with Jesse, where she can give some of that more individualized attention to that youth apprentice, start exploring maybe some of those different career options or different companies. So we all talk, it's a good team. So there's a lot of support here. It's just a matter of taking that step to reach out, and we will make sure you get connected to the right staff member.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Any final questions before we finish up for the evening? You can either put those in the chat or the Q&A section.
Carrie, if you're going to send out the recording, can you just include Jesse's and mine and Ryan's contact information? If people want to get in touch with us, like I said, Ryan's Manitowoc, Sheboygan County. Jesse, you can reach out to her. They're kind of spread a little more thinly around the state, but if Jesse's not the right person, she'll get you to the right person. And I cover Outagamie and Wapaka counties. So if you have any direct questions about your neck of the woods, feel free to reach out to us. If we're not the right person, we can put you in touch with the right person.
So just a question came in about clarifying those 8 general education classes again. I'm assuming working towards that associate degree.
And the tech school will work with you. If you talk to a program advisor when you go in and you just say, I'm working in my whatever apprenticeship program you're doing, what classes do I need to take to get my associate degree by the time I'm done? I can rattle a few off the top of my head, but I do not know all 8 of them to be able to tell you specifically, but your advisor at the tech school would be able to help you with that. And even every tech school has an admin for the apprenticeship program. The admin for the apprenticeship program would be able to tell you that as well.
So those will vary probably a little bit slightly by the college, but a lot of it is that general education, communication, writing, psychology, maybe those intro level courses.
And they're putting more and more of those online too. So it's going to even make it going forward even more friendly to that person who's maybe got the full-time job apprenticeship, but still wants to work towards that associate degree.
And the curriculum for apprenticeship classes is only the fall and spring semester. So you do get your summers off of school just like you do when you're a kid, but a lot of the time that's when your employers have the highest workload. So it may not be conducive to take those gen eds in the summertime, but they are available. And yeah, the online format definitely helps.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I would encourage students to do is to look at what dual credit opportunities your local high school offers. So some of these courses are actually courses you can take for college credit in high school that can apply for those general education courses. So depending upon your school will depend how many courses that they offer and what they offer. But again, if you set yourself up for success, take some of those in high school, then you get that credit. You don't have to retake the class and it's free then. So there is no charge to transfer those credits over. So save yourself the time, the money, and you will thank yourself later. Absolutely. All right, so we'll look at any final questions coming in. Again, we will send out our contact information as well when we send out the recording to everybody who attended today, or tonight, I should say. I just want to thank Lynn and Ryan and Jesse for their time this evening, for their willingness to do this. I asked them to do it. I am a huge proponent of that Y8 RA bridge. I've seen so many students have great success with that. We took a tour actually with a group of Lincoln High School students, and there they were in regard to a student who had that day finished his registered apprenticeship. And as he told the students, he said, you know, I'm 21 years old and I own a home. I have a nice truck. I have a motorcycle. I have the things that I thought I would want when I was 30. So it has provided him a really great opportunity to continue to move forward in his life. And partially that was due to his 2-year youth apprenticeship program that got him started. So. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you again for everyone's time tonight and for joining us. And again, if there's questions, please do not hesitate to reach out, yawisconsin.org. You can find your local YA coordinator if you're interested in pursuing some YA opportunities. Otherwise, again, the DWD site that Jesse had showed you as well, and we will make sure you get everyone's contact information as well. So thank you very much for joining us tonight.